Hello, and welcome to my review of the Iron Lung movie made by Markiplier. As I'm writing this review, I have just returned from the cinema and it is currently 12:35 a.m., but I'm doing this while the movie is still fresh in my mind. So before I begin, what is Iron Lung? Iron Lung is a 2022 science fiction horror game created by David Szymanski where you play as a convict and take control of a submarine named the Iron Lung and traverse through an ocean of blood on a moon called AT5, while taking photographs of anomalies within the ocean. The setting is in the future where all planets and stars have mysteriously disappeared, leaving only spaceships and barren moons behind. The event is referred to as the Quiet Rapture. Throughout the game, as you take photographs, strange things happen, such as your submarine seemingly teleporting across the map and finding a sea monster that follows you throughout the game. As you get further and further through, you lose oxygen, steam pipes burst, and blood begins to flood the submarine. The game ends when you attempt to take a photograph of the last anomaly, only for the sea monster to destroy your submarine and devour you. I've played the game and uploaded a video on my channel. I'll leave a link in the description. Now, I love this game, and I was excited when a film adaptation was announced for this game. What an interesting and fascinating concept for a horror movie, right? Well, we'll get into that. So how the heck did this become a movie? Well, in May 2022, popular YouTube gamer Markiplier played Iron Lung and praised the game for its setting, atmosphere, and gameplay itself. I rewatched his video before seeing the movie. The game itself would also become popular, especially after the controversial Titan implosion incident in June of 2023. Sometime later, David Szymanski went on Twitter to jokingly say that an Iron Lung movie in collaboration with Markiplier was being made. In March of 2023, Mark said that he was going to be directing, writing, and starring in a film, but didn't specify what it was. 1 month later, the first teaser trailer for Iron Lung was released on Mark's channel. Filming took place from March to May of 2023. However, production on the film halted during the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strikes. In October, Mark dropped the first official trailer for the movie, and then it was radio silence until June of 2024, when Mark announced that the film was completed and was negotiating for a theatrical release, and a year and a half later, on December 5th, 2025, Mark announced the release date of January 30th, 2026, and the film would go on to be released in over 4,000 theaters internationally, including Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, and several European countries. So how did Mark take a half-hour-long game about taking photographs in a submarine in an ocean of blood and turn it into a 2-hour movie? This is where the spoilers begin. In 3, 2, 1, let's get started. So in the movie, Mark plays a convict named Simon, and his punishment is to take the SM-13 submersible, also known as the Iron Lung, and is tasked to explore the blood ocean on the moon AT5. So, pretty similar to the game, right? Well, not really. Throughout the first half of the movie, Simon speaks to Ava, a member of the Consolidation of Iron, who later tasks him to retrieve an artifact from a giant skeleton that he took a photograph of. However, when he returns, the Iron Lung loses connection with the Consolidation of Iron, and Simon is forced to survive. And of course, as expected, he manages to take some photographs of the monster, so he knows he isn't alone. One thing I liked about the movie is the sense of isolation. Without anyone to talk to and oxygen supply dwindling, Simon begins to hallucinate about a woman talking to him through the supposedly broken speakers, and then he has a vision of the monster and the surface of the moon itself. He eventually reawakens and is able to communicate with Ava again. Simon reveals that he was involved in the destruction of the filament station, and that he found the remains of another submarine called the SM-8. Ava promises him freedom in exchange for acquiring data from the SM-8. However, she later abandons him, and Simon is stuck with the monster as it attacks the submarine. In the end, the Iron Lung implodes, which kills both Simon and the monster, and the movie ends with the data from the SM-8 being found. So, how does this movie hold up? Is it good, or is it bad? In my honest opinion, I say that it's good. It's not bad, but it's not amazing either, if that makes any sense. For me, the biggest problem with the movie is the pacing and runtime. I mean, do we really need a 10-minute montage of Simon mapping out the ocean? That could easily be 1 or 2 minutes. Do we really need all the constant close-up shots to show condensation within the submarine? No. This movie is 2 hours and 5 minutes long, but in reality it could easily be cut down to about an hour and a half. But that's pretty much my only problem with the movie. Overlooking those flaws, the rest of the movie is pretty good. Mark gives a pretty good performance and he displays the 5 stages of grief very well, especially when it comes to anger. There are a few moments that he gives some awkward deliveries, but for the most part, his acting is great. Another thing I liked was how faithful it was to the original game. The layout of the Iron Lung is pretty spot on, and there are a few references to scripted events in the game, such as when Simon has to extinguish a fire on the submarine. Another interesting to me was how the blood and the monster functioned in the movie. In the game, the blood acts just like how a regular ocean of water would act, and the monster acts like a realistic predator, circling the submarine a few times before attacking. In the movie, the blood is almost alive, quite literally, as it causes a strange infection on Simon's skin when it makes contact with him near the end of the movie, and it also seems to form a bizarre plant-like thing that grows throughout the submarine. The monster as well seems to be fully sentient and communicates with Simon telepathically. The monster also looks very different from the game. In the game, it resembles almost an anglerfish, but in the movie, it's almost humanoid in appearance, which makes it much more disturbing in my opinion, and would also make sense considering the ocean is made of human blood. And speaking of blood, this movie now holds the record for the most fake blood in a horror movie, with 300,000 liters or 80,000 US gallons of fake blood used. And it definitely shows with the bizarre hallucination sequences and the ending of the movie. Okay, I know I said I was done with the problems, but one minor flaw is that the movie isn't really scary. There wasn't a single part in the movie that made me jump or anxious for a jump scare or anything like that. The movie seems to build up on suspense rather than full-fledged horror, but doesn't take advantage to give us one good jump scare. Now I know this is the same way in the game, but at least that ends with a jump scare that is definitely worth the build-up. However, that doesn't happen here. No final jump scare, just the teeth of the monster piercing the iron lung, and then it implodes. One final compliment I'll give is the score. Andrew Holschultz's score is really good, and it definitely captured those beats from the game spot on. Overall, the Iron Lung movie is a good one. Not perfect by any stretch, but still good. It might have to do with the fact that I was up at 4 AM for work, then I watched this movie at 10 PM, and it is now about 1 AM and I am very sleep deprived. But I don't know. If I was more alert throughout the movie, then perhaps I would be giving it a different rating. Who knows? If you ignore the runtime and the pacing, the movie is enjoyable to watch. Mark gives a great performance, the score is great, and the visuals are very nice. I feel that it's appropriate to give Markiplier's Iron Lung movie a 7.5. What do you guys think? Is this an appropriate rating or was I too harsh? Let me know. I want to get better at this type of thing, so your input would definitely help. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.